hello. No, no. Thank you for asking, though, but no. Your dog says hi? Well, that's awesome. Tell your dog that that old pop gun says hello as well. Thank you, Waffle. I think it looks pretty swag as well. There's one word that would describe my hair. It would be of the swag variety. Immel, I accept your apology. Does your person have a beard? Yes, it's Pop Gun. 'Cause the other bald guy didn't have a beard. You're not sorry. Well, hiya, that's unfortunate, buddy. Hey, Brush, did I see something about you being on a new team? Or did I hear about that? Honestly, if people do need something to channel their meme and anger at, if it's just my bald head, I'm fine with it. So many memes are on Twitter about me having no hair, and if that's what the whole community is locked in on and targeting, then I think we're all right. I think we're gonna be just fine. Oh, hi. Hello, Z. I didn't see you up there. Old Zoinks. And just like that, everyone, all of my EU audience has just left because Z is now here. Most unfortunate. Z, why do you gotta kill my ratings like that? Hello, Echo. Captaining Bad Luck Trout. Is that an acronym for something that if I say it out loud, somebody's going to clip it and I'm going to be embarrassed forever? Possible. That sounds about right. Brush, I'm glad that you are... Oh, BLT. The Forbidden Sandwich. I'm more of a chicken bacon ranch kind of guy. I have not. No. But I told my family about that, and now I'm tasked with making the Christmas brunch waffles, or the waffles for Christmas brunch now, which I'm excited about. I like making a vast quantity of waffles. I don't think anybody in chat knows what we're talking about unless they're in the Sploot server. Maybe that picture should start circulating Twitter today. That picture of me holding all those waffles that I made so that you guys can start making memes about it. Chicken bacon ranch. That's why I'm not on your roster? Oh, that's unfortunate. I've been off the free agent market for about almost 3 years now, I guess. You're tempted to tweet it. Do it, but you won't. Of course I was barefoot. If I'm in a home, if I'm on like a vacation, if I'm inside like a house of some sort, I'm not gonna have my shoes on. Yeah, do other people not just walk around barefoot in their own house? Like, do you guys feel like you have to wear socks in your own house? Flutie isn't going to be turf war. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Well, that's good. Maybe people won't smurf into your tournament then, because turf war tournaments are very competitive here in North America. So much so that we will do everything we can to cheat to make sure we win turf war tournaments. We'll talk about that later. Can I help you out? For what? A name? JPEG, there isn't a name for that. Free agent market crashed, and they're all battling each other. A name for that? I would at Stu. Stu the announcer. He could probably help you out with that. Young Tofi. Happy belated birthday, dude. Glad you could pop in. Isn't it convenient that we planned out for your birthday that we would have that I would be in the same place as two of your former retired teammates, so that we could send you a nice little picture. And the cool thing is, a month from now, Tofu, we can take a picture together. A good old Riptide. Young Tofi. Oh. Congratulations to AJ for being the winner of July's monthly drip contest in the LGBTQ plus Splatoon server. Forging innovation, a formidable forge fit that's fabulously fashion forward. Well, how about that? I think I'm out of touch about what fashion actually is after looking at that now, but thank you, Waffle. Appreciate it. I gotta make a list of people that I'm excited about meeting at Riptide, to make sure that I do meet and interact with all of them, and to make sure that I get everyone on the list that I want to. IHOP, Thimble, IHOP, ITAP. Carrie, what's the name of your team? Is it like no team name or something like that, or did you guys come up with an actual team name? Naughty nice list. If there was a naughty list, Thimbo IHOP would be at the very top of it. Y'all be naughty for sure. Ink Eye's going, right? How about Krusty Crew? Krusty Crew's going, but didn't they? We have one, but it's changing since we had to swap a player. Okay. Ink Eye, who I believe is now Ink Lumina or Illumini or something like that. Just play the fact that you're all 27. Wait, is Mahi going to Riptide? Is that true? Did I miss that? I know San Diego's going. Definitely want to meet those guys, but hey, we got a show to do. So there you go, Turf War Tower Control Tournament. Man, what's going to happen during Turf War now? Like this is something is going to happen. I am planning on not doing a Popcast next week because I'm going to be on vacation. But if something happens in the Turf War tournament that is so unbelievable, which at this point you should probably expect it to happen, maybe I'll come back from vacation early and do an episode about it. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you're pinging at everyone an inappropriate joke in a public server, complaining that Anchovy Games is showing up in a tournament map list like Anchovy Games is a bad map for competitive, demanding that I do a Popcast episode from the vacation hot tub, whatever it is that you're doing right now. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this, unless I don't. So I had a good week. What about you guys? pretty, pretty. What's that word commentators use? Interesting. Yeah, I guess interesting kind of sums up what's been going on in the competitive Splatoon scene for the past 4 or 5 days or so. And yeah, obviously, I wasn't really planning on doing any kind of episode of the podcast this week. I was on, obviously, I think some people have seen some pictures. I guess we can talk about it. Well, we did have a little get together with several of our friends, Miss Popkin and I, a lot of our friends in the Sploot Troop server, the Casual Clan, and some of our other friends that are not in the server but live close to us that we wanted to meet and are at least 21 years old. So we had a fun little trip, and I was planning on just taking the week off. I've never gone an entire week since I started doing the Popcast in July of last year off. I've never taken a full week off. I've always done an episode on a Monday. If I couldn't do it on then, I would do it on a Tuesday or a Thursday. And this was going to be that first week, unless something insane happened. And, well, on Saturday, something insane did happen. And something has been being discussed heavily on Twitter the past couple of days, to where there was enough to where I was like, all right, maybe there is no vacation for the Popcast. Maybe I should come on and try to start saying some things. Now, disclaimer for today's episode, we're going to be talking about some heavy topics. I've always said that on the Popcast I didn't want to talk about things specific to drama, because the focus and the mission of the Popcast is to give a highlight to low-level teams in the competitive scene who normally nobody would ever talk about them ever to any kind of extent unless they were to win low ink. So, and I would say I have talked about drama on the Popcast before, and I don't know if this qualifies as drama actually, now that I'm just kind of talking about it in my head. But unless it was something that was relevant, I wouldn't touch it. We are going to be talking about Madhouse a lot today. There was some stuff that happened with Madhouse about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I purposely did not talk about any of that on the Popcast, but now, from what they did in a major tournament, it is now something that is relevant. So now we are going to talk about it. But if this is an episode where you're clicking in to see me talking about what Ink Eye is up to or what the Wiggly Phantoms did yesterday in SOS, that's not going to happen. But I feel like these are important topics that we need to discuss as a community as a whole, and that's why I feel like these kinds of things are relevant to talk about here. I did a lot of driving yesterday and this morning. We just got home a couple of hours ago. So most of this episode of the Popcast that I'm going to be reading out to you guys is coming almost directly from my brain. I didn't really have enough time to get it all down on paper, which is normally what I do. I normally just like bullet point everything I want to talk about on paper and then just kind of go off of that. I got most of it down, but there's going to be a lot of times where I'm just kind of speaking from the heart, which might not be actually true. But bear with us here. I'm not trying to say this is going to be a bad episode, but a lot of this is going to be written as I'm saying it in my head, because there's important things that we're going to be talking about here, and I don't want to say anything. I just don't want to shoot myself in the foot with what I have to say. I did reach out. I did reach out to a couple of people to see if they wanted to come on and talk about some of the issues that have been going on. I reached out to Riza, and I also reached out to Lily, Splatoon Lily. Both of them were, it seemed like they were eager or they wanted to come on. It just didn't work out with the timing. I think they're both working and couldn't really come on. So I just wanted to point out, I did kind of reach out to some other people to bring them on. But since just because of my lack of preparation, everything was kind of rushed with that. So we'll see how this goes. But I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Should be a informative episode, if anything. News, before we get into the topics of the day, there are a couple tournaments that we do want to point out. First off, the Fast Looty tournament, or Flutie, is going to be this upcoming Sunday. I believe it starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I vaguely looked over this, and I think they asked me to help, or I might be helping out with the seating for that. I'm not. Actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to blurt that out or not. Oops, oh well. Regardless, that is going to be this Sunday, and it's basically going to be a Looty season condensed into one day. So how you sign up, you're going to be put into a div, and you are going to play out your group stage in your single elimination format all right then and there. So that works out. It'll be interesting to see that tournament come in. It'll give me something to talk about for sure next week. So we'll definitely be recapping Flutie on Monday's episode of the Popcast. But as far as like low level tournaments is concerned, this is the first month we've had in a long time where all of our traditional low level tournaments are back and raring to go. First off is going to be LSL 14. That is going to be next Saturday, not this upcoming one, but the Saturday after that. I haven't checked what the registration for that is, but I know the last time I saw it was already at 8 from last week. Launch Point is coming back with a graduation tournament next Sunday, so basically the day after LSL 14. And that one is going to be a mix of players that have graduated from Launch Point and players that are currently in Launch Point. So that'll be cool to see. My wife is going to be playing in it. My wife won a Launch Point Draft Cup. So she is going to be coming back as one of the graduates. And, I'll have to see who all is playing in that, because there are some people who have graduated from Launch Point that are absolute monsters in the scene now. So we'll... Haya, did you ever play in Launch Point? Like, I don't know if that was before or after your time, but nope. Okay, good. I was about to say, if Haya were to play in that Launch Point, that would be brutal, but something I would love to see. Always a big fan of when Haya beats up on people. Obviously the weekend after that is going to be Low Inc. The 21st. Make sure you sign up for that. Make sure you sign up early. For those of you who waited till like late Thursday night or Friday morning to sign up, you probably got a DM from me saying, hey, there's something fishy about your team, and you didn't give us enough time to look into that thing that might be fishy, so we're just going to tell you no. So if you have anything remotely fishy, sign up now. Put in exemption requests now. Don't wait till the last possible second. Give us more time to verify you guys so that we make sure we're doing the right thing. Because if there's anything slightly sus that we think is even weird, we are going to call you out for not giving us enough time to look into it and tell you to hit the road and come back next month. So make sure you sign up for that now. Do not wait. Sign up now. And lastly, the very last weekend of the month, I believe this is the 28th, Minnow Cup is finally coming back. I don't know what the mode for this month is off the top of my head. Is it Rainmaker? I want to say is the mode for this month. So it's going to be good to see Minnow Cup come back. Minnow Cup was easily averaging 40 to 50 players per tournament that they would have. So it's good that they came back with this. Hopefully this is a tournament that runs on a monthly basis like it was before, so that they can keep momentum going. But regardless, it's here this month, so it's always fun to play in that. So there you go. 4 low-level tournaments going on this month. Make sure you sign up for them and play in them. So that way, when the next low-level rankings come out, which came out, I believe, over this past weekend as well, and I usually do a recap of the low-level rankings, but I don't think I really have time to do that today. But it'll be interesting to see what the rankings look like next month, now that we have all these low-level tournaments to look through, other than just the Low Inc. and the potential for LSL to happen. So a lot of tournaments for a dead community going on here. Make sure you play in them, as many as you can or feel like playing in. Today, we will get into the Turf War tournament from last Saturday, I promise. That was... I wrote basically that portion of the episode in the hotel room the night that we were traveling on these little hotel pads that they give you. Why do they give you these little pads in your hotel room? I have no idea. Maybe it's because they know somebody's going to be writing down an entire episode of a podcast on it. So we'll get to that. But first, obviously, we need to address something else. How can you not be aware of the conversation going on Twitter right now? I tweeted out this morning that I was going to do an episode of the Popcast, what the topics were going to be, and that it was going to be a heavy episode of the Popcast, you could say. And somebody responded with, wow, none of this is on my feed. How am I missing that? And that is a good question to ask. How could you miss what's going on Twitter right now? Literally everybody is talking about the same thing, and that's good that we're all talking about the same thing. But if you are somehow in this chat and you are wondering what I am referring to, let me do my best to kind of explain how we got to this point to where we are today. So first off, a couple of days ago, a document was kind of dropped on Twitter where several people were coming forward about Spectator, I believe is their IGN, has been basically sexually harassing them and overall just sending them inappropriate DMs and comments and things of that nature. I won't go into the specifics specifically about what all was said because I don't have my mature filter on for this episode of the Popcast, and I don't want it to get taken down by Twitter. But I will say one of the most unbelievably "what kind of human being do you think you are" comment that I did read from it had something to do with the fact of this person threatening to perform a, how should I word this, unsolicited sexual act on somebody's little sister. That's the level of, wow, what is wrong with you kind of statement that is coming from this kind of person that I saw on Twitter. Obviously, the document included several screenshots. If that is something that you, I mean, you should, this isn't something that should be, oh, just what's the TLDR of this? No, when something like this gets dropped, you definitely want to look through all of it. You want to absorb it. You want to make sure that you are aware that this is an actual thing that people do to each other. Like this isn't something you just want to brush off as like, oh, wow, this is something that's just happening. And you know what? Honestly, I don't blame you if you do brush it off, because it seems like we've been having documents like this dropped consistently about people in the Splatoon community. It seems like every other month there's a new document being dropped where people are calling out another person and showing a ton of evidence and screenshots of this person just being an absolutely horrible human being with the things that they're saying to other people, the sexual things that they're saying to other people. Like it's happened so much that you almost become, what's the word I'm looking for? Desensitized to it. It's like a school shooting. Like school shootings in the United States seem to happen so often that when you see it in the news, it's just like, oh, well, there it is again. Numb to it. That's a good kind of example to go with there. So I don't want to downplay this in any way. As it is something that happens all the time. We've just seen it countless. We've seen it so many times to where it's not just one person. It's a trend. It's a culture that we have clearly kind of formed here, intentionally or unintentionally, in the competitive Splatoon scene of just being harassment towards women and those of non-binary who are basically in a position to where they are not in power in the same sense of all these other players that are basically doing these things are. But this is sparking a new conversation. So this document got released a couple of days ago, but this is sparking a brand new conversation on Twitter that is still going on to this very second. And the community is finally starting addressing these kinds of issues. If you just pull up Twitter right now, and if you just follow half the people that I do, other than Carrot tweeting out a picture of me making waffles, let's not look at that. But there's so many different topics going on here. K-Bot just called out somebody for pinging at everyone an extremely inappropriate comment. Other people are talking about their experiences. They're not naming names, but they're talking about, hey, this thing has happened to me in the past, and I've never spoke out about it, and I still won't speak out about who did it specifically. But things like this have been happening. Like, a lot of people are coming out and talking about this, which is good. Most notably, and the thing I do want to highlight is RZA, who released a lengthy Twitter thread yesterday that has 462 likes on it, and this is going to be the main thing that I'm going to be talking about today. And I will link the first tweet to that in chat right now if you want to kind of take a look for it yourself and drop a like as well. I haven't liked it yet. Let me do that. 463. There you go. So to grossly oversimplify what this tweet is about. And again, full disclosure, I did reach out to RZA to try to have her come on to the podcast so that she could kind of expand upon all the topics that she did here. But it didn't work out just because of work. She wasn't available to come on at this specific time. However, I do want to plug, she's going to be on a podcast tomorrow with, I don't know how to pronounce this. It's either Negus or Negus. Who's going to be streaming tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So RZA is going to be on that. So I would definitely look into that one. Negus, thank you. I would definitely be looking for that episode of Negus's podcast coming out tomorrow at 8 p.m. because RZA will be on. I'm sure she's going to be talking about this to an extent as well. But so, to grossly oversimplify what she kind of talked about here, what she was pointing out is not just, hey, we're not just getting DM'd sexual things. We're also being judged to a very extreme extent for every little thing that we do in the community. And by we, I mean basically women and non-binary people, and also pretty much any minority in this community. I apologize if I kind of screwed up that kind of statement that I said right there. But basically, I'm not saying we as in me. I'm not speaking for RZA either, but I'm trying to just kind of interpret the tweets here. But basically, it's not just the several DMs, but just flat out everything that group does is kind of analyzed. Being picked on in pickups for the weapons they use, their KAs, how many specials they pop off, what specific weapon they pick for each single map and mode. It seems like everything they do, and it's understandable because this is kind of how we've been treating women since caveman days. Oh, what does she look like? What is she wearing? What is she saying? How is she acting? Well, that's not how a woman should be acting. That's not what a girl her age should be dressing as. We've been doing this pretty consistently, so it's pretty understandable that somebody in a pickup server is being kind of judged like this to this kind of degree. And it's something I didn't really think about. But that makes it makes so much sense the way RZA is explaining it in those tweets is how these things are kind of going on a broader scale than maybe a lot of people, including myself, wouldn't think would be going on to that kind of extent. To grow as a player in this community, and here's the real issue here's the real issue I didn't really see in the tweet, but I think is kind of being referenced here, or at least it's something I want to point out. If you want to grow as a player in this community, what is the single best way to do that? We've been told, and I agree with this statement. You have to do pickups, right? You got to be playing with other people, and you got to strive to get into these plus servers. That's why Launch Point exists, why Midpoint exists, and why Plus 3 exists, because Plus 2 and Plus 1 were a thing, and we're like, whoa, we want to get a piece of that action as well. So it's bled around that concept of pickup servers that you have to be either like voted into or applied to get into has trickled down from the very top all the way down to the low level community, because we all see these pickup scrim servers as a way to grow as a competitive player. But here's the problem with this. If you don't feel comfortable in these pickup scrim servers because of the type of harassment that is kind of flung your way, either intentionally or unintentionally, then you're not going to feel safe that you can grow as a player. And it makes you think. You might be saying to yourself, well, if somebody's being harassed constantly, why don't they just say something about it? Why don't they just speak out about it? I want you to think back to the Me Too movement of a couple of years ago, about five to 2 years ago, when all the actresses in Hollywood were coming out and saying like, hey, this director sexually harassed and abused me, or these high level Hollywood execs were coming after me and basically saying I had to do this specific act if I wanted to get a role into this movie or to grow in this scene or anything like that. And people were saying, why didn't you speak out earlier? Why are you just picking now as an opportunity to speak out? You had your window to say something about it. It's closed. It doesn't matter anymore. Why weren't they speaking out? Because of retaliation. They're basically going after people that are that have more power in a higher rung status in the society than they do, and calling them out. Of course, they're going to get some sort of retaliation for that. They're going to lose jobs. They're going to lose their reputation. They're going to be attacked. They're going to basically lose their livelihood for because they're sticking up for themselves against predators to some extent. So of course that's why they wouldn't speak out about it before, and it's not until the Me Too movement where other people were coming out and supporting, like, hey, that happened to me too. I got your back. And look at it in this Splatoon context that we have here. All the documents that are being released, it's not just one person. It's never one person saying, here is my experience with this person. It's always a group of people coming together, like 5 or 6 people coming together, creating one document being like, here's my experience, here's my personal experience, here's the screenshots they sent to me. All these people need to come together for them to feel safe to even say anything about it because of retaliation. How does this kind of translate, the Me Too movement with the actresses having to deal with that? How does that translate into competitive Splatoon and this plus servers that I'm talking about? I was speaking with Banana Man a couple of episodes ago, a +3 player who just was just like about 10 percentage points or so away from getting into +2, but it has been in +3 for a while. And one of the topics that we were discussing was how +3 had the purge, like in their second month of existence, and how I asked him basically point blank, and I'll play the clip for you here, but I basically asked him if he felt like the purge happened because everyone needed to get in line with the hive mind of what the community was, or fear retaliation. Take a listen.
And that is messed up. But
I forgot to replay that here.
As far as the bandwagon goes, that other players would jump in on the bandwagon because they know if they were to go against the hive mind that it could result in them ultimately getting voted out.
Yeah, I feel like that could definitely happen. As long as you keep it to yourself, I guess, and just quietly not do what everyone's saying, then it's fine. But if you start speaking out about it and people don't like it, yeah, they'll definitely downvote you just because they don't like your opinion.
Now, the context of that conversation we're having was about the purge and people getting in line with the hive mind of the plus servers, fearing that if you went against it, that you were going to seek that people were going to get retaliation against you and vote you out of the server. So that's why that makes me thinking, if women are playing in these plus servers and they're being harassed, Why wouldn't they just come out and speak out against it? Because there is retaliation. There is a direct route for people to retaliate against them by downvoting them and kicking them out of the server. So all of a sudden, they lose access to all of those resources that are in the Plus server. They lose that pipeline to grow as competitive players because they're speaking out against a group that is in power. And we don't know how many people in the Plus server are actually acting like that. We just know of the few that are actually getting exposed right now. But you got to think, if you come out and say, hey, I'm being harassed by this person, and several of the people in that Plus server are friends with that person, you just got an automatic -2 just because they don't like you. I mean, Banana Man basically said, and this is just one player's opinion. Don't take it out of context of what he was trying to say. I'm not trying to do that, but I am trying to think outside the box here of what could potentially be going on as to why people wouldn't be coming out and calling out people harassment. It's because there is already retaliation going in these Plus servers for not fully agreeing with concepts that are going on here. So that's the dangerous slope about this. And I'm very curious to see what because RZA just made that huge document. What is her Plus server voting going to be next month? Like, are people going to try to like retaliate against something like that? Because she's basically calling out a group in power that is kind of dominating the scene like that. Like, I'm genuinely curious to see, because I wouldn't be surprised if I saw that for a lot of people. And it's extremely unfortunate that's the kind of the mindset that could be going on here, but it's definitely understandable. Look, and the reason I know that stuff like this is going on, all you got to do, look at the Girls Cup duo tournament. Anytime it gets announced that there is a Girls Cup tournament, what do people say? What is the response? What are the quote retweets? Well, when are the guys going to get a tournament? How come girls get a whole tournament just for themselves? How come there's no tournaments for the guys? You idiots! Every single tournament in competitive Splatoon is a guy tournament. This whole community is a guy-driven tournament. What do you mean? When is the guy-only cup going to be? You are living in it. We created it. This is where we are. What do you want? It's so privileged. It really is. I said this was going to be a heavy episode. It is so privileged without even recognizing where we are in this community and where we all fit into this community, to where we think it's not something that affects us personally, or that we think anything that threatens our status is a target against us. You know, and you know what? I'm part of this too. I'm partly the blame for this too, because I've been kind of ignorant to what's been going on. And I've seen things tweeted before. I never talked out about it. I saw things being said in a joking way. I never stuck up for it. I'll be the first to admit that I am part of the problem. And it's like, I don't know. Look, I understand that I'm sitting here talking about, I'm here. I'm a straight white male that in America, that alone, being born into that, I didn't earn any of that. I was just born that way. And I was basically born on third base. What we need to realize is I didn't hit a triple. I was just born there. And there are several people, so many people that were born in the dugout, and we're doing everything we can as an entire society, as an entire planet, to make sure the people that were born in the dugout don't even get to the plate. They don't even get an opportunity to swing the bat to try to go somewhere. Like that is what we are starting to recognize. And it's on me because I never really recognized it until last year during the George Floyd riots. I'm not sitting here saying I'm a racist person, but now I'm understanding, whoa, there were some things I was doing unconsciously that I didn't understand how this affected other people, or things that I took for granted. Just going to the grocery store for me is just a normal thing, but for some other people, it can be an extremely stressful event for situations and factors that are outside of their control. And I hate to get preachy here. I'm sorry. I know we are way off base of what Splatoon is, or what the focus of the podcast is supposed to be. But I want you guys to recognize that when we make these statements, whoa, wow, Ludi is doing a Europe-only tournament. Bruh, we just had a 4-week tournament series directed exclusively to the United States of America players. Why are you crying? It is so ridiculous. So what do we do here? Other than just pointing out what problems are, what is the solution for all of this stuff? I don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know what the solution is. I know what the problem is, but I don't know how to fix things. And I don't know if there is a direct way to fix things, but I will say this. We need to listen. Myself, especially me, we need to listen to what's being said and what's going on within this community, to the people that are actually affected. And that's exactly what Rizza is saying here. She says we need to listen, call it out when we see things like that, and stand up for women. She kind of points out in one of her tweets that she will only play in pickups with Taylor because Taylor will stick up for her when somebody comes out for her for using a weapon they feel like isn't good, or they feel like, oh, she's not pulling her weight. And we need more people like that. We need more people that are sticking up for these women that are being picked on and looked down upon in these pickups. We need to start, those people that are higher up on the pedestal, so to speak, should do a better job of trying to make sure that everyone else gets to go up to the pedestal, not just the ones that have always been up there at the beginning. And secondly, I'll say this. We need splat safety. Like, this is why splat safety was put into existence. Like, we needed splat safety to come in and have an actual punishment for people like this that are crossing these lines and doing things that are inappropriate, which is why I was so critical of in-game TV when they basically a few months ago, when they basically tried to what's the word I'm looking for here? Marginalize splat safety with their statement, when basically their head TO for Riptide came out, and when splat safety came out and said, hey, this person's banned, and in-game's response was, this punishment is egregiously unwarranted. That's what's so dangerous about statements like that. Because when we need splat safety now to protect us from these idiots, these children, these little boy children that are hiding behind computers, in-game TV is trying to pull some people away from that mindset that splat safety is something that knows what they're talking about. That's why it's so critical that we got to really invest ourselves into splat safety. And I don't know if they're still recruiting, or the last tweet I saw from them was basically that, hey, I understand we are being a little slow with things because of a lack of people that are involved in this. That's concerning. And we really need splat safety up to this point. So that's another thing that I want to point out here. And again, this isn't a Splatoon issue. This isn't something that is exclusive to Splatoon. This isn't something that's exclusive to all esports or all ball sports or other aspects of life. This kind of stuff has been going on since Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. It's finally being talked about now, and it's kind of been put on millennials and Zoomers to be the generation to try to fix these kinds of things. So, and again, I don't know what the answer is, but I'll say this. We need to start listening. Pay attention to what people are saying on Twitter, because a lot more people are starting to come out here. I don't want to say it's a Me Too movement, because I feel like that is insensitive to the actual Me Too movement, but there is some similarities here where people are starting to feel comfortable coming out and speaking, because the more people that are coming out and speaking, the less they feel like retaliation is going to come back. Unjust retaliation is going to come back and rain down upon them. So keep the conversation going, keep listening, and yeah, that's really all I have to say. Again, Rizzo's going to be on Negus's podcast tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I would check that out. I'm sure she's got a lot more interesting stuff to say on this topic, and I guess that's all I really have to say here. But wow, that is maybe that got a little more passionate than what I was expecting it to be. But there you go. That is my thoughts on what I saw on Twitter the last couple of days. I might have been screaming into the microphone. I don't know if it crossed into the red line there at some point. And now we awkwardly transition from that and move on to what I thought was a serious topic, but now seems a little more silly to some extent, but still has some important segments about it. High level privilege, another splat safety issue that kind of got undermined to some extent. And of course, I'm talking about a turf war tournament of all things. You know, so transitioning gears to the Nintendo Turf War tournament from 5 days ago. There was some speculation by me that something absolutely crazy was going to happen because it fits into the theme of what's been going on in the Turf War in the Nintendo tournaments the entire month of July. If you've already forgotten, good for you. I did not. Again, this was happening on Saturday. So for where I was on Saturday, we were driving to a hotel to stay overnight before we drove to our actual destination. And my wife was looking at Twitter and pointed out, oh, K-Bot just tweeted, well, at least it wasn't a best of one tournament. That made me think like, oh, wait, what is he referencing now? What's going on now? And then you just scroll down through Twitter and you get a better sense of like, okay, what happened in this Turf War tournament just made all the other nonsense that happened in the other tournaments seem really like nothing. Let me explain. This team called Elite Four played in this tournament. Ended up winning the tournament, I believe going 14-0 per matches, even though Good Morning played as well and went 12-0 per matches. Those two teams did not play each other. Elite Four got 2 more wins, so Elite Four won the grand prize. Who are the players on Elite Four? They are 4 accounts that have never even been in existence on Discord for more than a day before the tournament started. I believe Chara played against them and kind of tweeted out that their levels were 30 through 80. That's not 30. That's not a prestige. So no prestige, level 30 through 80. At what level is level 30 when you can buy the highest level of gear? Like, at what point can you buy the less weapon? Is it level 30? Like, did some of these guys not even have access to all of the weapons in the game? Even? You guys are saying 30. Cool. I was level 30 like 3 years ago. But they brand new accounts, Smurf accounts on Twitch, brand new accounts on Discord. So seemingly nobodies just came in and dominated a lot of high-level teams. I believe Azure, Sonder, and like I said, they didn't play Good Morning, but they did finish higher than Good Morning and won this whole tournament. Now, there's 2 ways of looking at this. The first way is to say, hey, you guys in low ink that always say rank doesn't matter, you were right.
Anybody can win any tournament. It doesn't matter what your skill level is, what your solo queue rank is. As long as you try your hardest, you can beat anybody and win this tournament. The other more logical way of looking at this is saying, okay, somebody's cheating here, and why are they cheating in a open invite tournament that isn't skill capped in any sort of way? What is going on here? Because the only reason you would smurf in an open invite tournament is if you are clearly trying to cheat. So this team, Elite Four, turns out to be made up of a couple of players from Madhouse and Bliss, who has been banned indefinitely from Splat Safety. Now, the Bliss playing technically is not illegal because there is no Splat Safety jurisdiction in the Nintendo tournaments because Nintendo doesn't pay attention to things like that, and they didn't help create Splat Safety, so they wouldn't really care either way. And it's fine. Look, guys, homophobes, transphobes, xenophobic people, pedophiles, they all deserve a tournament to play into. They deserve an opportunity to win some lanyards here. So it's totally fine that these guys are all playing. The real technical rule here that got actually broke is that a couple of players were on another team prior to this tournament starting. In like the Splat Zones or Rainmaker tournament, they played in another one. The rule is that you can't play for a separate team the entire month if you play for one team. Now, we found out that you can sub a player. You can like drop a player and add a new player. So you could have like more than 5 people play for your team throughout the course of the month, just 5 active for the current day, and nobody can ever switch. Well, turns out 2 players lied and did switch using Smurf accounts and decided to just go out and flat out win the tournament and thought nobody would find out about it. So there's a lot to dissect there, and we're going to go into it bit by bit because I'm already angry from what I just did. So let's just keep it going. Wow. I need another vacation after this. Let's talk about the Bliss thing right here. Yes, Bliss is technically allowed to play in this tournament. Technically. Should Bliss have played in this tournament? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, this is kind of what we talked about during the first Nintendo tournament. The unwritten rules versus actual rules. The unwritten rule of you shouldn't call out another team for wearing a Splatfest shirt if they're wearing it because they're basically giving you a better chance of beating them by wearing it. You want them to wear the Splatfest tee, and the actual were those broken of wearing the Splatfest tee. Those was 2 different teams. Pure Divinity broke an unwritten rule. Arctic Moon broke an actual rule. Well, here, Elite Four broke 2 rules. They broke an actual rule, and I think they broke a pretty significant unwritten rule. Don't play with somebody who is banned indefinitely from the entire community by Splat Safety. Keep in mind, I mean, this is an indefinite ban. That means that, yes, it could end today, but really what an indefinite ban means is that you're gone forever until something miraculous happens to where people think you've changed and become a better person. Why this is such an issue here? Why is Bliss even playing in this tournament at all with these guys? Well, this is the thing I was talking about earlier. Something that happened 3 or 4 weeks ago that I didn't talk about because I didn't feel like it was an appropriate topic for the Popcast. But now that it's coming in and affected a major tournament like this, it's now appropriate. So we're going to go back and dive into all of it here. First off, Madhouse has been being coached by Bliss. Somebody called them out for it, so then they became public, and we're like, "Hey, yeah, Bliss is coaching us, but Bliss has changed, and don't think negatively of us about it. He's not going to be playing in a tournament with us ever." They did say that they were not going to try to sneak Bliss into a tournament, and it was just for coaching purposes. Dapple Productions since came out and said, we are banning Madhouse from all of our tournaments, and we're expecting everyone else to do the same thing. Later, now, not to bash on Dapple Productions, I am going to point it out because it kind of leads into more things here. But to Dapple Productions' credit, they realized they made the mistake, which they did, and they retracted it and they moved forward. So we shouldn't hold anything ill against Dapple Productions. They recognized they made that error and corrected it immediately. The reason I point out the Dapple Production thing, though, is because that sparked a conversation. And there's two ways to look at the Madhouse's ban from Dapple Productions, as short-lived as it was. Because people were saying two things. One, it's not fair to ban a team who didn't break a single rule, which is true. Did Madhouse break an unwritten rule? In my opinion, hell yeah, they did. Did they break any actual rules that should warrant them being banned from any tournament organization? No. Well, I mean, at that time, no. But no, absolutely not. Which was why it was cringe when Dapple said, we encourage other organizations to do this. And it's like, no, we don't. The problem, though, is the other thing people were pointing out from this was that, hey, wait a minute. Madhouse is saying that Bliss has changed. So we should take what Madhouse is saying as proof that Bliss is no longer the racist jackass that he was for for years leading up to the ban. So we should just trust Madhouse saying that this person has changed. I didn't comment on that. And I was really quiet about it. Because you know what? I don't know Bliss. I don't know Madhouse. But if they're going to sit here and tell me that this person has changed and I should just accept that, I don't know. I think we should just sit here and wait and see what happens. Well, now we saw what happens. Bliss and a couple other Madhouse players, well, I guess Bliss specifically, but all four of those players knew they were cheating when they had an illegal team in that tournament. Basically tried to cheat and win a Nintendo tournament through it. So now, all of those people that were coming out and saying, well, Madhouse said he's changed, so I guess that means it's all right that this person changed. Uh-oh. That didn't work out too well, did it? Why did we just automatically assume that this person has changed based off of just what something somebody else said? The reason for that is a little thing called high-level privilege. Now, high-level privilege, much like sexual harassment, man, we live in a crazy society, don't we, is something that's not new or unique to Splatoon community. I bet in the first Olympics that happened in Athens, whatever Olympian won a gold medal had high-level privilege and got away with more things because of that as well. It's definitely something that goes on across all of competitive sports, high school up to professional level. If those of you who remember Michael Vick, who used to play for the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, got arrested and put in jail for 18 months for holding an illegal dog fighting ring and was basically having dogs fight to the death. That Michael Vick got arrested, put in jail, but you know what? Michael Vick's really good at football. So what happened after he got out of jail? He signed with the Philadelphia Eagles and went on to have an MVP season with them. So it's crazy because if Michael Vick was half as good as he actually was, as soon as he got out of prison, the NFL would be like, we will never have someone like you, someone who does something this despicable towards dogs in our league. But because Michael Vick is really good at MVP caliber player, the Philadelphia Eagles were like, this guy's changed. He's become a better person. Why can't you guys see that? And that's 100% what happened here with Madhouse. If Bliss was not a former top-level player, they would not be trying to tell us what the narrative is with Bliss as to why he was coaching them. If he was a bad player, if he was that one kid who said, I may be really bad at the game, but I'm a really good player, even though he's in Div 4, nobody's asking that person to coach. Nobody's trying to say that person changed. But because Bliss is good at this video game, we are being told that he has changed and we should give him a second chance. Well, he got the second chance and look what happened with it. There you go. I mean, again, high-level privilege. I'm not sitting here complaining about it because it's not going to go away. It's not something that's brand new. But that's why when Madhouse was trying to tell us, how we were supposed to feel about this person who hurt a lot of people, a lot of minorities with the things he said and did. It's like, oh, this, I think this is not going to end too well. And the actions that Madhouse pulled out, or at least a couple of players that Madhouse pulled out from last weekend, kind of doubled down and justified that they were wrong. How did they think they could get away with this? Like, this was the dumbest crime ever committed in the Splatoon community. If somebody wins in low ink and you guys don't know who they are, what's the first thing you do? You go on a Twitter rampage. Oh, wait till low ink staff I found out who these guys actually are. Wait till low ink staff finds out. They're going to take the prize money away from them. Like, we don't verify everybody who signs up for the tournament. That's why, like, we don't spend the entire month verifying everyone for the tournament. But if you guys don't know who they are, you start throwing hissy fits and start doing witch hunts. If that happens in low ink, how the hell do you expect to win a Nintendo tournament and everyone just being like, wow, congratulations, level 30 guy. You did a really good job being better than Good Moon. No, or Good Morning. No, everyone's going to be like, what? Who are these guys? And of course they did. It didn't take less than about 30 minutes before we pulled off the ghost mask and figured out who the guys trying to scare away the Scooby-Doo gang was. It was you! It was Madhouse players all along! Uh-oh. And we're talking about low ink. Welcome to low ink here. This is what JPEG and I deal with on a monthly basis. And it's so bizarre that we see this kind of cheating in a skill cap, in a tournament that doesn't have a skill cap, but okay, I guess JPEG and I now need to start sharing our player verification secrets with the entire community, because now everybody's going to need to be verified if we're going to be trying to cheat to this level. Is there any kind of splat safety punishment that comes from this? There is a rule that says that you can't smurf into tournaments, but I think that rule was put into place specifically to protect tournaments like Low Ink and Little Squid League, to keep people from like smurfing into them. So if you were to smurf into Low Ink, we can file a report against you for sure, because that does violate the code of conduct to some extent. I didn't look it up what it was specifically. I don't know. I think it's one of the more minor violations, like you would only get like a month or something like that at most for breaking that rule. But there is a rule specifically in the Splat Safety Code of Conduct that is against smurfing, and I'd be interested to see if that does apply directly to this case here. Is for ban evasion. Well, then yeah, they definitely smurfed for ban evasion. Now, with the Splat Safety, not all bans from Splat Safety are publicized. Like some of them are put up on their Twitter. Some of the more like notable ones are put up on Twitter. Most of the bans you guys see from Splat Safety are not made public. And it's not just Splat Safety. A lot of times other organizations do ban players and teams. You just never hear about it because it's honestly, it's none of your business. Now, there are other organizations that try to be, we are the first to come out and ban this team or player from this tournament, and we hope other organizations do the same thing. But I think most organizations look at this, it's more important to be right than it is to be first. So if there is some sort of punishment coming from this, from Splat Safety side of things, I don't know, and I'm not going to like stay up all night trying to figure that out, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was, because it seems like by the letter of the rule, they did break some code of conduct stuff from what they did here. And, you know, there was some funny things about this, some not so funny things about this. Someone made a drama rank list. I don't know if we need to be making tier lists for where like all the nonsense that went on in this Nintendo series of tournaments should be listed here. I mean, this one obviously, like the Splatfest one, not the Splatfest one, the Rainmaker one with the Splatfest T, that was just more so an interesting debate about rules in general between two other teams. The Splat Zone one there wasn't really any like drama with that. It was just more so a conversation people were having about the format of the tournament. By the way, Chara released a video on YouTube, I guess last week. I retweeted it. It was about his thoughts about what he would like to see changed in future Nintendo tournaments. And to Nintendo's credit, every time they come out with a new tournament, it's better than the one that they had previously. So hopefully this tournament series continues to grow and get even better than that. Now, the tower control one, the reason people were talking about that so much is because Battlefy exploded. That nothing you can do there. Again, Battlefy had been breaking down all week long, and I don't know if that issue's been fixed. Did SOS go smoothly last night? Were there any groups that went best of one instead of best of three because of that or whatever? I don't know. But I mean, there's two takeaways from this Nintendo series as a whole. First off, if you're Nintendo, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And we thought there was with the whole Squid House thing, with how they negatively came against the Smash community and how we stood up for the Smash community and how they stood up for us with the whole fiasco that was back in December. But it turns out, no, there is no such thing as bad publicity for Nintendo. The good thing about them is that we were talking about everything that had to do with these Nintendo tournaments every single week that they happened. Not just me, but the conversation was being driven constantly on Twitter. So these Nintendo tournaments, for better or for worse, did capture the attention of a lot of people in at least the competitive scene. What I want to see is that they capture enough of the casuals to draw them into Little Squid League, to draw them into Low Ink this month. Like, what are the low-level tournaments that are going to be going on this month? How much are they going to grow because of this Nintendo tournament? That's what I really want to look into here. But the second thing I want to point out from these Nintendo tournaments, and honestly to wrap up, to sum up this entire episode of the Popcast, because you see this a lot, and I saw this after Saturday, and you're definitely seeing it a lot now, is people just coming out and making broad statements about the entire community as a whole being bad and toxic, and like, this is why I'm never coming back to competitive Splatoon, because all these things are happening. I want to point out something. The community as a whole is great, is wonderful. I did a vacation with 13 other people in this community, casual and competitive and TO, and just had an absolute wonderful time. The people, who knows what actually is going to happen at Riptide tournament-wise, but the people you are going to meet at Riptide, at least the people that I'm excited about meeting at Riptide, it's going to be a wonderful interaction. It's going to be so cool meeting a lot of you guys. This community has so many wonderful things a part of it. Are there bad things going on here? Yes, but you know what I love about it? We're not letting bad things get in. You can't get away with bad things anymore. That's why people were so against Splat Safety initially, because Splat Safety didn't care if you had clout. Before, if you were a high-level player and you had clout, you could get away with anything. And then Splat Safety came along and said, we don't care. And then people were getting called, and people who were being challenged at the top were coming back and saying, we don't need Splat Safety. Who needs this? We should have a tournament that just bans, that just for only people that are banned from Splat Safety. Like, no, you little children, you don't understand. This is an important thing. This is cleaning out the crap from this community for better, making this thing better. And all of us, all the conversation going on about the sexual harassment stuff, about how we're condemning these people that were cheating in the Turf War tournament. There are more people standing up, saying the right things, doing the right things, trying to make this whole scene better for all of us than there are people that are just hiding behind their keyboards because they're scared little children that are not helping the scene grow at all and are just trying to make things worse. The good definitely outweighs the bad. I understand people are frustrated. I understand people are disgusted. But the community as a whole, I feel like, is still heading forward in the right direction. I, along with several other people, would love to see this community become one of the most welcoming of everybody, of every race or sexual orientation, gender identity, all that stuff. I feel like we are trying our best to head into that direction. And there's so many people you can name that are doing their best to try to make it like that. So I understand people being frustrated about that, but I want you to understand this is heading in the right direction. It's always the darkest before the dawn, or whatever from that Batman film. It's not that dark right now. And it's actually kind of bright where I am, even though it's 7 in the afternoon. With that being said, speaking of Riptide, I need to go practice. I need to go scrim with my Riptide team to get ready for that. And I also, tomorrow, need to get back in with my actual team, Destiny Troops, so that we can figure out how to beat the tar out of Luau next time we see them in a tournament. So I am going to leave now and go be a part of this scene that I love so much, and so many of you do as well. With that being said, if you are more, next week we are going to be talking about Flutie. We're going to be talking about some other stuff. We're going to go back to talking about tournaments. They're not going to be this heavy, this me, old man pop gun yelling at us again kind of episode next week. But if you would like to be a part of the podcast in any way, if you want to come on and share your thoughts about things, if you want to send me some information about your team, I love when you guys send me information about your teams, especially during low ink, so that I can I know like what to prepare to talk about you guys when like I'm commentating you or I'm talking about you on the Popcast or anything like that. Feel free to reach out to me at my socials below. Twitter, Mr_Popgun. Discord at Popgun, #5882, YouTube at Popgun at 25 Popgun, Discord at Popgun 25, anchor.fm/Popgun if you want to listen to this on Spotify. And that is my goal for the rest of this vacation week, is to get all those episodes up on Spotify that I have backlogged here. Who are we going to raid? Let's raid the Barry. I've never been on this late to raid Barry, so let's go raid Barry. Thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my vacation. Hey, put your mask on. Make sure you're wearing your mask. Get vaccinated. Do whatever you need to do to survive this Delta variant. Please do not die. I need your views. They're important to me. Unless they're not.